She couldn't just sit and fly, waiting for Vic to take care of things. She had to take some kind of action. At best, Vic would just screw things up and probably get someone killed in the process. "Joey, I'm going in." "Wait, what? How?" "These things have a sort of autopilot. We can do some things that Vic and the others did. Just follow me, okay? I don't want to do this alone." Joey didn't answer for several long seconds. June took the time to adjust the controls and detach a small piece of the guard to leave it on the ship. The ship would fly itself, but leaving a little piece of the guard behind meant that it would assist if any emergency happened. As best she could, she transferred these thoughts to Joey's guard as well. She had to appreciate the non-verbal communication of these things. "June, I can't do that." "Yes, you can. Don't give me that. Make your way to the door. You saw what Vic and they did, right? That's what we'll do. It'll be easy enough. If you can't do it, just close your eyes and I'll take control. You can have it back as soon as we're on board the Acid Rat. Argmon, are you with us?" Argmon barked, and she could sense that during the conversation he'd already done what needed to be done, and moved to the ship's door to jump. "Vic, we're coming in to help." She waited for several heartbeats, but Vic didn't answer. "Joey, we need to go now. Something's wrong down there. I can't sense any of them on the ship. Let's go." She reached out with her mind and took control from Joey. Sure, he'd set the controls, but he still hadn't moved to the door. They needed to do this at the same time. If he was going to hesitate, she would just take things from him. Just like she'd sensed Vic do, she hardened the skin of the guards and began to reshape them. Big bombs with wings. She tried to focus on the Acid Rat and wonder how Vic had done this without getting scared out of his wits. Above them and not too far away, the star flickered and sputtered as its life drained out. Below them, miles and miles below, the ground laid out in all its patterns and grids, sat waiting for them to fall. She was going to get them on the Acid Rat safely. She just had to. First she had to try one more time. "Vic, what's happening down there? Lou, Dexter." She didn't want to try speaking to Plu-Plu-Panu. If those three weren't answering, there was a problem. That's all she needed to know. "Argmon, jump." "June, I can do this myself. Let me have control back." As much as she wanted to trust Joey at this moment, she just couldn't. Not when the Acid Rat, Vic, and everyone was at risk. Sure, Joey might have done this on his own, but she needed to make sure he jumped at the right time. The wind currents didn't feel right flowing over her body. The guard seemed to be fighting her. It took her a few seconds to realize it was Joey fighting her. He couldn't relax and let her do the flying. Instead, he fought for control, and if she just let go, he'd crash into her or Argmon. That was the last thing they needed. "Joey, just relax. I'll give you control back in a minute. Stop fighting me." Another couple of seconds. He did, and they were much closer to the Acid Rat. Now she wasn't sure if she'd be able to land them both in time. She was going to have to let him land. "Okay, take over. We're close enough. You should be able to land on your own. Get ready. Now!" She released control of Joey's guard, and instead of making corrections, he started to fall back. She would have grabbed control back, but they were too close. Instead, she reshaped her guard so it would grab on. Argmon followed suit. "Joey! Joey!" He didn't answer, but she could feel him, his fear thick and painful. "Joey! Keep control! You can just drift all the way to the ground if you need to. Make your guard into a parachute! Joey!" She knew he'd heard her. Unfortunately, he was the one with the plan to save the star. Hopefully Vic had secured the ship by now. She and Argmon would just need to get inside and make sure everything had gone all right. "Vic, Argmon and I are here." His voice jumped into her head. "Damn it, June! You were supposed to stay on the ships. There's a bit of a situation down here. A Mexican standoff, if you will. Don't come in here." "A Mexican what?" "We're not giving ground, and neither are they. Just stay there. I'm trying to get our ship back as peacefully as possible." Vic was trying to stay cool, but she could sense his nervousness. He wasn't scared, but the situation inside couldn't be good. They were in 30-foot-tall blob guards. What could the sheriff and his men be doing to keep Vic at bay? She tried to take partial control of Vic's guard, just to see what was going on down there. In the cargo hold, Junior and the other officer had gotten into suits that fit fairly well. Sheriff Justice, on the other hand, had stuffed himself into a suit, and his face was turning red, most likely from the pressure his body was currently suffering. The weapons room had been smashed into, and the Iron Butterfly looked as if it had flown for its last time. Vic and the others were being held at bay by their own weapons. What's going on down there, Vic? I'm trying to negotiate. Give me a couple of minutes here. We don't have a couple of minutes. Have you seen this star? It's about to blink out of existence. We need our ship back, and we need to circle back and pick up Joey. Circle back? Did he miss? We don't have time for this. We're coming in. What? No, June, don't do that. June nodded at Argmon, and the two of them oozed over the edge of the cargo doors and dropped into the middle of the negotiations. With surprise on their side, they should be able to cause enough of a distraction to disarm the police. She hadn't taken the time to just see how crowded the cargo bay had become, with 4 of them already inside, taking up most of the floor, and now 2 more pushing inside. There was nowhere for all of them to push. Vic made long arms and tried to push Plu-Plu-Punu, Lu-Hu, and Dexter out of the way. A laser blast flashed past her as she dropped slowly to the floor. Her surprise hadn't gone over well, but she would have to make the best of it. She couldn't just fall in and not do anything. Another blast shot past her. She wondered how they could be missing such a massive body. Could they not hit the broadside of a barn? 2 more shots rang out, and these also missed terribly. June, are you all right? Yes, Vic, I'm fine. As soon as she hit the ground, it kept coming up fast. She tried to focus the force in the blob to take shape so it wouldn't spill onto the floor. She needed to stay tall and disarm Justice and the others. That's when she realized she wasn't held securely inside the blob. Looking around, she could see that misses hadn't been fired. She'd just seen the blast go by and past her, and hadn't realized they'd pierced the guard's body. She tried to brace herself, but there wasn't anything she could do. It was like being suspended in water and watching the ground come up too fast. Below her, the guard's body spread out. All she could do was close her eyes and hope that hitting the floor wouldn't hurt. She tried to apologize, but no answer came from the guard. She couldn't hear anyone's voice. The only sensation she had was falling. She landed on something soft, and her body spun around. Looking up, she saw Argmon's falling as well. A black mark showed on his leg, where he'd been shot. Something also caught the acid rat's pilot. For what felt like minutes, but was possibly only seconds, the fluid that had been a guard just a moment before flowed over her body and onto the floor. She was wet. She was weak. She wanted this nightmare to end. They'd found such a peaceful being in Plu-Plu-Punu that had known nothing of other life forms' existence, and here they were introducing to the concept of violent death. She tried to say I'm sorry, but only fluid came out of her mouth. She coughed up fluid and tried to breathe the air again. It hurt. It pained her. Then she found her body being pressed into the guard's body. Vic had taken control. She had to fight once more for breath, but she was finally able to breathe once more. Argmon was pulled into the guard with Dexter. That wasn't the best thing you could have done, June. I had to try something. We still don't have time for this. Have you explained that to the good sheriff over there? Of course I have. He seems to think I know a way out of this place. I have no idea what I'm going to do just yet. Well, what are we going to do? The time for thinking up a plan has come and gone. That star is about to go dark unless we do something. Thanks, June. I hadn't realized that. It was nice of you to point that out. Victor Gallegos, we will be able to do something. The scientists fear that once the star runs out of power, we will no longer be able to keep the shape of the planet and will collapse in on itself. That would be most unfortunate. I hope we do not come to rescue your ship in vain. I've got a plan! I've got a plan! Just 1 second, I've got a plan! They didn't have a second. Vic was trying to think on his feet and time had run out. It had run out for all of them. She always knew the day would come when Vic would do something stupid and put them all at risk. She just never suspected that he would put an entire planet and a race of people at risk, or that they would all die. I think I know! I've got it! Vic sounded excited for just a moment before the entire ship shifted sideways.
You've been listening to Hollow, V&A Shipping, Book 2, written and read by J.R. Murdoch. For more information about this production and its author, visit jrmurdoch.com. There are a lot of ways you can choose to spend your time. Thank you for choosing to spend it with me.